This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening. This is the monthly general meeting of SLUUG, the St. Louis Linux Unix Users Group. Today's date is January the 8th. 8th? No. Got the right date? Yes, it is January the 8th, 2025. And our speaker for the tutorial tonight is Lee Lammert. He's going to talk to us about the network cell information tool. And then our main presentation tonight will be upgrading our own server, Bach, from Debian 10 to Debian 11, a project we've been working on for a while. We're going to try and do it live here tonight. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Lee, and we're going to learn about the network cell information tool.
All right, Gary, thank you. Well, the first thing we're going to do is I'm getting ready to shut down Bach so I can clone it. If anybody has an open session they want to preserve, let me know now or forever hold your peace. Going once, going twice. Bach is currently being shut down. As soon as it is shut down, I'll stop again and we'll start the clone operation. So if you want to follow along on the wiki tonight, the wiki, I did back up the wiki to Bach 2. So if you want to watch the wiki, add a host entry on your machine, thus, so that if you put wiki.sluug.org in the browser on your machine, you get the IP of Bach 2 here.
You want to copy and paste that to the chat so it's available?
I can do that. And where's chat? I hate it when the toolbar changes. Oh, freckle.
Freckle.
How the heck do you get the chat when you're presenting? There it is. I got it. So where'd the window go? Oh, God, what a pain. Would somebody else post it in chat, please?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Because I can't get a chat window when my screen's open.
Somebody sanity check it, please. And no objections. Call it good. Move on.
That is freaky. Sometimes Zoom is the biggest piece of doo-doo. Okay, so I have to share again.
No, we see you.
You see the screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't see it.
Oh, Jesus.
You've got wiki slug.org 205.197.251.211 highlighted.
So you see the new window from Virtual Machine Manager?
Barely. It's off to the side. Maybe it's the size window I have.
Okay. So I'm going to make a SLUUG Bach clone 2. I am 200 gig. I am not going to clone the other two partitions that we're not using right now. Media, we don't need to copy. And home is just an extra one out there. So I'm going to start the clone.
It looks like there's a window that's off to the right-hand side that maybe could be dragged over if that's what you're working on.
Like that one? That was the old window to Bach.
We see a web browser window open to the wiki and file and ver of a window to the immediate right of it.
Amazing.
It says reboot and check services up at the top. That's all. And a bunch of other stuff.
Amazing.
Since I came on, it's the only screen that's been on, I've been able to see. I haven't been able to see anything else.
This is Stan. On one machine, I'm viewing a blank Lee screen, and on the other machine, I see nothing. So, other than the meeting is being recorded, and it's not showing that Lee is sharing his screen. Try it again, Lee.
Now I see a giant Stan.
That's because Stan is talking. Zoom sucks.
Hey, that makes more sense, Lee.
All right, it came up muted. All right, the clone is in progress here.
Yep, 6%.
So I will slide that off. And get back to the base topic. I won't ask to raise your hands, but I'm sure that everybody has seen problems with all kinds of different cell issues. And let's see, just get rid of that. The whole point of the discussion is to show you guys how to use a tool like this. This is actually a live screen on my cell phone here in the office. I just did a speed test with the app I've got, which I'll show. You can see the name right here, Network Cell Info. This tells you it's a standard speed test, just like anything else. It gives you a ping time. It gives you a jitter, 3 milliseconds, getting a little less than 100 megabits per second. But the interesting part is there are 20 or 30 different tabs you can use here. One of them is a basic gauge. It tells me my signal strength right now is minus 113. And minus 90 is when it switches to my hotspot here in the office, which is a repeater. And I'm going to talk about how I configured that repeater when I set it up last year. The speed we saw. If you were out in the wild and you went to the map here, it would actually show a blue line to some different, two different cell towers in the area. Here's an example of one. That we can talk about. This is one from the app itself out in California. It will show all the cell towers, and wherever you are, it will draw a line pointed to the cell tower that you're connected with. And when I first started this project last year, I saw a cell tower. I saw the line from here to the southwest. Again, this is a live signal, a live picture rather. There's my location here in the back cave. And it showed the location here over at Mercy Hospital, southwest of here. So I knew that the strongest signal I could get here was from the southwest, and it was about 4 miles away. And at the time, it would show the band here in the status, and that band was 13. So since I'm on Verizon, I can look up Verizon band 13, see what the frequency range is. And I went out on Amazon and bought a repeater. And here's that picture. Sorry, I should have had this queued up quicker.
And why'd you buy a repeater?
Because I couldn't get a cell signal down here in the back cave.
Oh, okay, made sense.
And so basically using network cell info, I could determine what the frequency was for channel 13 and the direction southwest. And I'm sorry, I should have looked it up. I can't find it. So I put an antenna on the outside of the house, and an amplifier here in the server room, and an antenna inside the office. And the reason I'm getting this minus 90 dB is because that particular signal is jumping on channel 13, but there's 5 or 6 other towers within a lower signal range, and it'll switch to them. You know, cell phone is constantly switching. Now, the other thing being, you know, this is the icon for it. If network cell info is running, this does a heck of a lot better job of maintaining a cell signal because it's constantly dinging the towers. And it will keep that cell signal hot at like minus, you know, down here in the red, less than minus 120, which is the only way I got a signal before, but it kept dropping out because the app itself the phone will switch, and then like now you don't have enough signal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I got a question for you. Has anybody put a cell?
Pardon me, Lee. Lee?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe you could restate that. That was a lot of et ceteras. So maybe restate that and clarify how that works or is a problem.
Okay, so I used the map to see the direction and the channel. Again, if I wasn't using a repeater, I showed a southwest direction with a channel 13 here on the screen. And I used that information to go out and find a cell repeater. Give me 1 second. I can actually.
Okay, well,
Go ahead. Gary, go ahead.
Gary, you're
hang
muted.
it. I keep wind up getting knocked back to mute. I don't know why. Sorry. So that was one of the things that was confusing me earlier is for those of you looking at the map, you're only seeing Lee's block. The up and down line is his street name there. And basically the circle they're showing is just a little bit bigger than Lee's house. So he's talking about going to a cell phone tower, you know, half a mile away, but he's already installed this repeater. So all the little connection lines there are within his own house. So that's why you're not seeing what looks like going multiple blocks to the cell phone tower there.
So a repeater and oh crap. This is a repeater right here. You get an antenna, the cell phone booster. If you look at the details here, it said it was channel 13 with that appropriate frequency. But apparently it is not available. This particular one isn't available anymore because I bought it like 4 years ago, August 2020. So what you have to do is you put this antenna on the outside of the house on a fixed mount. You point it in the direction of the tower that you connect to, which would be southwest down here for me. You run the cable inside the amplifier, You run another cable from the amplifier to local antenna, like this dipole. You turn it on and it'll connect. Of course, there's a lot of issues in the meantime. But the point I'm making,
Is that repeater like on your just like your own personal repeater, or somebody driving by can hit that, get a signal from that repeater?
technically they could, but the signal's not strong enough for that. You know, you're lucky to get a 50 or 60 foot range out of it.
All right, just curious.
Yeah, it's not strong enough to be. You know, it's its signal strength. I get minus 90 dB when I'm 20 feet away from it. You know, if that was a full strength cell signal, it would be like plus dB 20 feet away. You know, it's a fraction power of a regular.
I'm curious, Lee, why you didn't just go with like a Wi-Fi calling on your phone?
Because it doesn't work.
How so? Is it your provider doesn't support it, or?
I don't know. It's not an option on Verizon.
Okay.
It'd be nice if it was, but. And the most the phone company could tell me was if you, let's see. I can't get there from here. I don't want to take time. Anyway, it wasn't possible with the phone. It works on AT&T and T-Mobile. For some reason, it does not like to work on Verizon. And I was not going to switch to T-Mobile or AT&T because I go out in the country too much, and this Verizon signal is the only one you can get. Especially when we're out in fields, you know, doing work with drones and that. Okay, so I have the antenna mounted on the south side of the house, pointed to the southwest, and the amplifier is in the back room. And then I have actually a flat plate antenna here in the office that directs the signal toward the office as opposed to omnidirectional, improves the signal. All right, back to the other question. How do I put this screen, the cell screen, on my workstation? That's how you do it. There's a package called Screen Copy, SCRCPY, that lets me link this window here on my workstation to an Android phone that's plugged in on USB. Notice the first time I did it, it couldn't find it. I had to go to the phone and tweak it a little bit, and then it connected. And here's the result. It's not that complicated to install. This is how I did it. I just did a quick search on ChatGPT, asked it how to install it, and this is what he came back with. SUSE has a repo, a hardware repo, from which you can install Screen Copy. The tricky part is enabling USB debugging on your phone. Here's how to do it. If anybody wants it, let me know, and I'll be happy to share it. In settings, about phone, you go to build number, developer options, USB debugging. Okay. Here's the tricky part. To enable it, you click the build number 7 times, and it'll give you a countdown when you do it to enable developer options. And then you can see developer options and turn on USB debugging. Connect the phone and run SCR copy. You can also do it over Wi-Fi, although I personally don't want to enable that. That's too much of a security risk. And notice that having a screen here means that it works just like I'm on the phone. I can do any gestures that I would on the phone. For example, there is our Nagios app that I have to monitor everything on our network and our clients' networks. And the rest of the apps, calendar. Okay, so we talked about Network Cell Info Lite to gather information. We talked about the signal amplifier to rebroadcast it inside the back cave here. And we talked about screen copy. That enables me to put my screen on the Linux workstation. Anybody have a question? Feel free to chat away. And by the way, the clone is 66% completed. So with that, Gary, I'll turn the floor over to you for our GUI middle.
Thank you, Lee. I was going to ask a question though. So besides the seeing the tower and seeing the strength, any other useful, neat tools, uses you found for the network cell light or the network info, the tool? What are the things you found that's been fun to play with there?
Signal strength, speed, raw data is a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know anything about. But if you were, wait a minute. Okay, this thing actually shows you where your neighbors are. I didn't realize that. Yeah, here's 13, band 13, which is the one here in the office. And here's another one here, neighbor 2. You got you got 2 13s that are strongest, 3, and then you got a 5, a 2. Yeah, those are all the neighbors that are close. And the map I showed, again, if we weren't on a repeater, it would show you who you're connected to.
If you unenlarge that map, will it show the towers even though you're not connected to the tower? Instead of zooming in, zoom out. And do any of the other towers show? Or is it just so intent on your repeater that it doesn't?
Yeah, I don't think you can see them beyond the repeater.
Okay.
I was going to try to do some screen caps outside, but I got sidetracked by the snow Monday, and I haven't left the house.
Only question for you.
Shoot.
What happens if you unplug the repeater for a few minutes?
That's a good question. Stand by.
All of a sudden you hear these alarm buzzers going off. Well, it sounds like Lee's away from the desk for a second. I'll point out that I believe what Lee's running there is Network Cell Info Lite. There's also just Network Cell Info without the word light on the end. And there's Network Cell Info Pro. And if you go out to their website, they do have a little chart that shows what the additional features are. The light version is free, and the other 2 versions have an associated cost. So for the added features, but
these all available on the Google store.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also a iOS version if you want to put it on your iPad or your iPhone. And I haven't checked that out. I'm just presuming that it works pretty much the same, but
I would not be surprised if there were fewer features. Apple is notorious for blocking access to some technical data.
okay.
I saw a 66 come up here, but you'll notice that the only connection is down here in the red, minus 121 without the repeater.
Will the map update and show anything?
Yeah. Although, let me
If you've
try.
got the repeater turned off, the map should be showing something else.
Well, it didn't update for some
Oh,
reason.
okay.
It's in the basement too, right?
Yes.
But yeah, even in the basement, Stan, I'd expect it to know where, which direction the tower is, but oh well.
Well, this
Well, because it actually doesn't know the direction. It reads the coordinates of the tower and then translates the GPS coordinates to the map. It has no way to sense direction. When it draws a line, it's comparing the GPS coordinates of the phone, which it gets off the phone, and the tower, which is transmitted by the tower and the header information. Yeah, I don't know why it's not displaying here. Okay, anybody else? Oh, before I leave, there are tons of options on this that I have never even fooled with, because the only thing I was interested in was the location direction of the strongest tower. And if somebody,
What do those options do that when you go back to the map? There's an X and a check mark.
what do the symbols mean?
Yeah, go back to the map. Yeah, down the left-hand side, there's a lock and an equal and a check mark and an X to the little balloon.
Okay. That unlocks the center, because when it's locked, it'll always keep your position in the center of the map. Updates are off. Updates are on. Oh, save measurements. Cancel that. Clear map. Markers are clear. There's probably an option here somewhere to turn on show all towers, but I'm not sure how to find it, unfortunately. Yeah, see, this is the only tower it's seeing now for some reason.
does that give your GPS coordinates of that tower, or is it doing a lookup? Because I wasn't seeing what I thought I would for chords there.
I'm not sure, Grant.
If you could flip back to the provided map example, Lee, that was showing Los Angeles.
Was that in help somewhere or set?
No, that I grabbed that off the page. Here it is.
There you go. So that's without using repeater, that's more the type of map that I'm used to seeing here in St. Louis, where yes, it's centered on where I am, but then it will show me multiple towers, in whatever area of town I happen to be.
And again, it'll draw a line to whichever one you're connected to tell you which one's active on the map normally.
I was using this tool about the time, what was that, a year and a half ago, that the mandate went out that thou shalt have 5G. I know T-Mobile was a provider who said if you don't have a 5G phone, they don't want to support you anymore. But it was then interesting. I could use this tool, and there's also a history record that you can use with this tool, and it will show you, for the last whatever period of dates you want there, for each day, how many times you were in a 5G cell, how many times there was no 5G cell and it dropped down to 4G. And it would tell you what your signal strengths were when you were in particular areas. So it was kind of interesting just to get a historical perspective of where you live your life and what you can expect on your cell phone.
Okay, anything else?
$707. Dead air.
Okay, we're
All
gonna
right,
move.
GUI middle, Gary.
We'll move on to the GUI middle. Well, thank you very much, Lee. It's an interesting tool. Like I say, I've used it. Lee introduced me to it, and so it was kind of interesting to play with it and learn some things. And if I was a better cell frequency engineer, there was more things and numbers in there than I was understanding. And I've got a little bit of a background in RF, so even the Wi-Fi Lite tool, even the Cell Info Lite tool, the free one, has lots of good technical information in it. So, okay, on to other things. Let's see if I can pull up for myself the calendar. Give me a moment, please, and I'll try and share it. Okay. Or Lee, if you don't mind, Lee or Stan, one of you guys might be able to pull up the calendar and share it. I'm just going to continue to talk and not confuse myself. Just pulling a couple of things off the historic part of the calendar. December the 31st, it was, if you crazy enough to look at your actual timer on your box, and that I mean the actual location where it stores the updating time. Time and Unix time is judged by December the 31st to January the 1st, 50 years ago exactly this year. And of course, that was Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time back then. So we were 6 hours off of it. So basically 6 p.m. on December 31st, if you looked at your bit pattern in your clock, that was 50 years of bits. So trivia, but it was something. The next day, January the 1st, it was 140 years ago that the time zones, the idea that there was Central Time, East Coast Time, wasn't implemented in the United States at that point, but just worldwide. I believe it was some guy in London or England came up with the concept of let's divide the world into time zones, and that way we can tell what's going on where. And it eventually took hold everywhere. Let's see, 100 years ago, again on January the 1st, Bell Labs came into existence. Of course, now it's called Nokia Bell Labs since it was sold to Nokia. And when it was created, it was in Manhattan. For the longest time, it was in New Jersey. And right now, as we speak, this year, they're in the process of moving it out of the United States and moving it to, I believe, New Brunswick in Canada. So they're going to their new happy home. Today is the anniversary of Herman Hollerith getting a patent on his statistical counting device, which we can more easily state is punched cards. The idea that you could put data on punch cards, and he was building machines that would read punch cards. And his company eventually became IBM, and the rest is history. But today is the anniversary of that patent coming into existence. So anyway, enough odds and ends history. Are there any important dates for our organization? Any meetings that are not going to be held on regular time? Or Stan or Lee, do I need to be pointing out anything like that?
The new Linux meeting will be 12 days after the St. Louis Linux Users Group meeting, which is next Thursday. Not tomorrow, but the week following. And then 12 days after that will be the new Linux Users Group meeting. I
Okay.
believe we're not seeing the calendar. Were you seeing the calendar, Gary? I think it was because the DNS switch for the Bach 2 switchover is not finished yet,
Okay. Okay.
I think.
No, it's up now. You just have to reload whatever you were on. All right,
Here's
Gary, tell me where. Go ahead. It's up. I'm on it.
Okay. I'm showing that the new Linux user group is on Tuesday, the 28th of January this month.
Fourth Tuesday. As
Fourth
usual.
Tuesday. Yep.
Yes. It's just because the way the calendar's laid out, it's an extra length of days in between the two meetings.
Okay. All righty.
There's a couple of questions in the meetup or the chat room. The latest question is, where can I find this tool? And it's
Your favorite Play Store.
okay.
It's on both Google and Apple.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say it again, Lee. It broke up.
It's on both Google and Apple.
Okay. Okay. All right. Also coming up next week, 8 days from now, on Thursday of next week, is our monthly Linux user group meeting, St. Louis Linux user group. The topic next week is Wi-Fi packet capture with Pongachai. I always mispronounce that word, but Pongachai. And Lee, if you can correct my pronunciation, please do. But
I call it Pongachi.
okay. This is something that back last June, I saw a presentation by Kamikaze Joe down at the 2600 user group. For those of you who aren't aware or don't recall, 2600 is the name of a worldwide white hat hackers group. It meets worldwide, always on the first Friday of the month. We've had a chapter here in St. Louis for, I don't know how far back it goes. I know at least 20, 25 years, because that's how many years I've gone to it, but not consistently. This is a tool that can be used for good or evil. Basically, you put this software on a Raspberry Pi, and it will sit there and it watches people make handshakes and connect to a Wi-Fi router. And then it tries to figure out how the handshake worked and what the necessary element to, the key to do any packet capture. And well, if it can't figure it out right away, it keeps listening and getting more handshakes, and it will even, you can set it up to disrupt and break people's connection, to force their machine, their laptop, if you will, to do a new handshake, to do it again and do it again. And it keeps giving more data to the potential hacker. And yes, it will eventually figure out how to duplicate your handshake. And so great, you've got somebody else who can now see everything you're typing and sending out on Wi-Fi. Which, of course, if you're living in the bat cave like Lee, it's enough trouble trying to get a signal down there. But if you're going to Breadco or some other coffee shop and figuring, oh yeah, I'm just gonna flip open my laptop, get on their Wi-Fi, and I'll just do my banking from here. Well, that may not be the safest thing to do. So our speaker next week is Kamikaze Joe, and he will show how this little box goes out and manages to get into Wi-Fi conversations that you didn't think people were getting into. And I'll leave it up to him to explain what the good side of the tool is and how to defend against it. But that'll be our topic for next Thursday night.
Seeing the name of it, I generally see PWN pronounced as pwn, as in pwn to own something, you manage to compromise it. So I would guess this is playing on pwn gotcha type thing.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Any other announcements that need to be made? Or if there are no other announcements, we traditionally do after the main presentation, just hang around and do more just open discussion and Q&A. But for anyone who figures they may have to leave early, if you'd like to ask any just general Q&A question, you could do that at this time, just in case you have to leave and you wanted to catch everybody while they were here, and we can do a quick
call for help. As we sometimes term it.
Okay. Let's see. Remember, a week and a half from now on the 20th, Martin Luther King Day. A lot of offices are closed for a federal holiday on that day.
My cousin told me that post offices will be closed tomorrow. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're closing because it's Jimmy Carter's funeral, and it was declared a day of mourning. So somebody pointed out to me it's been 15 years since we've had a former president die. I don't know if that's true or not, but see, I don't remember all of the protocols that go with that, but apparently making it a federal day of mourning is a normal protocol.
That doesn't sound quite right. Didn't George H.W. Bush die not that long ago?
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was 15 years ago to me, but
Time does fly, so
yeah,
time does fly. But that does seem a little bit long ago.
it does. Okay. Nobody has any good technical questions to throw out, huh? Okay. And I guess we're out of announcement material. Lee, how are we set? Are we ready to move on to the main topic?
Yeah, we're up on the clone.
Okay. All righty. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Lee. He's going to be joined by Grant, I believe, right?
So I've been told.
Okay. All righty. I'm going to turn it back over to you guys and go ahead and tell us where things stand.
Okay, at this point, Bach has been cloned. The window you're seeing right here is clone 2. The original Bach, which I backed up, is still there, off. If after this upgrade, we feel that we are ready to go into production, we'll leave this guy running. He will become Bach, and this will be the backup. And then we have another one out here, which is Bach 2 that we've been playing with for about 6 months. So anyway, this is a clone of Bach. It is our play machine for tonight. And if we, let's see, where is my, there is a, oh, I'm sorry, this is the general Debian 10 to 11.
Hey, Lee,
Yeah.
if you're live on the clone and we may throw it away, please shut the email server down so any inbound messages don't come into. Fair enough.
Already done.
Thank you. In case others are wondering, the state idea is we don't want email to come into a machine we may potentially throw away.
And hopefully we won't have it done for too long. All right, so upgrading Debian 10, damn it.
What, this isn't twiddle your nose and it's done?
I was looking at Mike's notes here on the wiki, and all he did was reference the Debian list. He didn't. I can't. Oh shit! Have you been looking at the wiki, Mike or Grant?
No, I have not. I'm on a machine that I don't have access to modify the host file. Sorry.
First thing we want to do, what? There's no updates here. I'm pretty sure. Yep, nothing. We need to install ten to 11. We don't have any upgrade. Want to change Buster to Bullseye, right? Or no, sorry, we don't want to do that. We have to Python. Do I have that right? No. Anybody know what that is? The package that we need to install that is lets Python 3 operate as Python 2.
Let me look at emails. I'm multi-failing. Sorry, bad co-presenter.
So ask ChatGPT.
Python is Python 2.
Python is Python 2.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe not.
It probably is. Should we do the? I bet we have to do Bullseye. Do the
Reading. edit apt sources list. After you do that, do apt-get update, then apt-get install Python is Python 2.
Looks like we got a repo here that's a problem. Security. Update and then upgrade.
No, apt-get update, apt-get install Python is Python 2. I presume that package is in the new version.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, how's Stan writing on the screen?
I
Say again?
don't know. I don't know why I'm doing that.
Fair enough.
I was trying to move the narrative from the speech to text up out of the way so I could, and then somehow I turned on the annotate the screen thing.
Somehow turn it off. Preferably not with a hammer. Your monitor won't like that. Although
Good
it'd be better,
distinction, yes.
it'd
I
be
think
better
I
to
have it.
do that to an LCD than a CRT.
Yeah,
I think I've got it turned off now. I
CRT.
think.
All right, what's next, Grant?
Then do apt-get upgrade space dash dash without dash new dash packages. Sorry, PKGS. Hit Control C and run your command again. I just want to double check. Apt. He did apt get, not apt. Big deal. Upgrade without new packages. Sure. Yep. And then he says, see the wiki for responses to prompt.
We.
Anybody catch the original number?
If only we were recording and could go back.
No. Let's see. I don't see anything interesting here. Anybody catch it? Anybody got an extra set of eyes? Make DFSG and locate.
I don't recall anything super interesting other than Python stuff, which we know and we're dealing with.
Send mail. All right, 424. All right, about a quarter of the way there. Anybody else have a sidebar or anything we can yak about for the next 10 minutes or so? For those of you that are joined, before we started, we were having a big discussion about Fediverse as well as Discord and other services like Twitter. If anybody else
And
has an opinion,
Mastodon and so forth.
well, that's all Fediverse, Dan. You know, Mastodon, my account's
Well,
like,
for it's just I recognize Mastodon. I don't remember what Fediverse is.
Mastodon is an implementation of, I think it's
It's just
Activity
an
Pub or Active Pub. But that ecosystem is referred to as the Fediverse, Federation Universe.
Yeah.
you know, the main reason for that, Stan, is there are bunches of hosts that you can log into. And once you log into a host, you can go anywhere to any other server you want because they all share the same logins. Your logins are related to a host. You know, like you can have a login at Mastodon. My login's on Fostodon, which is free and open source software. That was the one that Ed turned me on to. But when you follow somebody on whatever server you're on, that person can be on any other server. All you have to do is know enough information to follow them or maybe spot them on a thread, on a hashtag.
What kind of address do they have? It's a what they call it, Uglethorpe, or that pound sign and then the name and then at something?
Usually it's at username at instance. So like I'm at Dr. Script at oldbytes dot whatever the domain name is. And I can look that up.
Yeah, but that can be confusing because that handle that Grant's talking about, you can use from anywhere in the Fediverse. On your home server, for example,
Yes.
mine's lvl@omnitech.net is my username. And on that server, I have a handle defined. And then whenever I log in somewhere else, I log in as handle at fostodon.org. What is the Fostodon? What is a Mastodon? Grant, you know offhand?
No, I know old bytes. I think it's oldbytes.space. And I don't know which daemon they're running.
Mastodon.social. Okay.
So there's different packages you can run, and there's a whole bunch of different servers, and different servers run different packages. Like different servers run different web servers or different email servers. It's pick your package. They will interoperate with each other, and that collective cloud is the Fediverse.
Yeah. Notice that when I tried to log into Mastodon, it told me where my handle is registered, which is lvlammert@fostodon.org. So let's see if I go back here and log in as okay, Smarty Pants. How do I log in on Mastodon with my Fostodon login?
Well, it thinks you're logged in. You've got log out on the lower left,
Oh, okay.
and that page looks like you're logged out since you have login on the upper right. Normally, if I go to a instance that is not my own and I try to log in, it's like, hey, you want to log in on this other one, and it points you a link to it.
You don't have to create a login everywhere, just one in the
No,
Fediverse.
you just create the one, and then you actually interact directly with the instance you log into, and
Right.
then interacts with other instances on your behalf. Kind of like you have your email account with your email server, and then it does things to other servers for you.
Then you're able to open a window on that other server, or does it just kind of bounce everything to you, or what?
It tends to proxy things through for you.
Yeah, in essence, any Fediverse server you log into actually is a proxy to your original server where that has your login. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yes, that does.
Okay.
Are you looking at Postidon now, or
No, okay. I was setting up for the next one. In other words, that's how Mastodon works. I've actually got once I'm not sure where it picks up the email. I guess I put in the email. Okay. And then it tells me that, oh, I'm actually out of fostodon.org,
right?
and there's a redirect already in place for that login. So I don't log in here. But I am not that up on how to handle a situation like this. So
And maybe it's the client I'm using. I'm used to logging in to my home instance. And then when I ask for something on another site, it goes and gets it for
yeah.
me.
See, this is my home instance, fostodon.org, and these are the ones that I follow.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
you could click the magnifying glass and you can give it somebody to find, and it will go get this stuff from wherever they're at. Like do at Dr. Script at oldbytes.space. I think it's .space or spaces. Try plural. Let me get a window open.
It actually doesn't make any difference because I'm already following you.
Yeah.
How come I know my posts from you?
Yeah, there's things.
Did you just post something?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I just saw you scrolled and something was showing. I can if you would like me to.
Well, not unless you're ready. Here, Dr. Script, here you go.
Yep.
See, this is Grant, who I follow on my feed. So when he posts, it automatically gets copied to my feed. Or it's automatically visible in my feed, I should say. I don't know that it actually copies it.
Yeah, I believe the server you're on is actually kind of subscribing and pulling my feed in, so it has a local cache of it, or my posts. So it has a local cache and can show them to you.
Right.
The
Yes.
cache of your post because he's following you, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it pulls it onto your login server or your login instance, and your login instance will cache it for a period of time defined by that server admin. So if there's something that's way back, your local instance may not have a cache of that, but it's possible for you to jump over to that other server directly and to anonymously access that identity and look back through the entire history.
Side question, the avatar there, can you make your own or do you have to?
You
from somewhere?
provide it. That is something I have been dragging with me for like 25 years.
Okay.
So
By the way, the voice before Stan and Grant just now was Stephen Baker, giving us the description of how that was put together. Thank you, Stephen.
You need to make the hair grayer. Do you need to make the hair grayer?
hair grayer and beard grayer, and the hairline needs to go further back. Um,
And let's see. No, I don't want to do one.
you're saying in, and I think, okay, never mind. You're correct. I was misinterpreting.
Yeah, I always get in the habit of specifically or explicitly specifying instead of using a default if I can help it.
Yep.
All right, I noticed that Grant just posted something and it immediately turned up in my feed.
Hmm.
And we're almost done with the update, but at some point it'd be
He could reply, "Go away. I'm busy doing an upgrade. Talk to me later."
So we tried a trial run of this update before, right? And we didn't notice any weird
Mike,
interdependency things or anything like because
from
you're gonna have components from both 10 and 11, right? Because anything that 11 didn't have is still gonna be there from 10.
right.
And-
The biggest issue that I remember was it defaulted to Python 3, and that's why this time around we did the Python is Python 2. Go ahead, Lee.
it's actually not a case of default. It's a case of without Python 2 installed, when we did the upgrade before, it removed Mailman because Mailman was dependent on Python 2.
Right.
Ouch.
Yep.
Well, that's why we ran the test and we found a problem.
And you don't think there's going to be like any like cross dependencies where 11 is going to be looking for a library that would have been installed if it was a base install instead of an upgrade?
I think it's a perfectly valid question. We're following a Debian supported upgrade process. We're just way behind doing it. So we are leveraging that the Debian maintainers know how to gracefully do these upgrades, including dealing with the dependency potential gotchas that you're talking about. As long as we stay within the package repo, this
Right.
should be fairly safe.
Right.
Barring the bye-bye Python 2 and anything that uses it, which we found last time around, and we have addressed that.
Okay, so this is an over the beer discussion topic, but where did the world change? In the old days, Fortran, which is one of the oldest standardized languages of, that was broadly developed on everything, and I think also probably COBOL, which was more the business-oriented original format language. They were always backwardly compatible. If you had something that had been written 15 years earlier in Fortran, um, it didn't make any difference that you had a newer Fortran on your system. It always was backwardly compatible. Where did we go wrong that you have to make sure that Python 2 is being replaced by Python 3? Oh my God.
Well,
Um,
we got old, Gary. That's what happened.
Yeah, I'm not a
It's
fan
not
of
just
the
getting
way.
old. It's why can't languages be backwardly compatible?
Oh, they could be, but that's a lot of work.
Eh,
It's more work to make them not compatible. But things change quickly in technology. I mean, surely we've all seen this, and um, sometimes there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. So you come up with something, and it gets widely implemented across domains you never could have imagined. Sometimes it's like, oh well, actually, we should have done that a little differently. So anybody that's built anything complex is probably not even finished it yet before they've said, I wish I would have done this differently, or I wish I would have done that differently.
And that's
mhm.
exactly why I've said
That's,
when I build something, I want to build it 3 times. The first is to actually make it work. And partway through, I'm going to go, oh crap, I know what I need to do differently. Start the second version almost immediately. Then you're going to learn a few things. And it's like, okay, let's completely redo it again, incorporate in everything from the second version.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've had a very similar concern with Python, Go, and Rust. I'm seeing them have less than 10-year shelf life.
Mm, really?
Whereas, yes. Whereas things like C, I observe a 20 to 30-year shelf life on code. The big
Mm-hmm.
thing that happens with C is as compilers move forward, they start warning about things that are potentially unsafe, and eventually it's a hard error if you still do it. So you
Mm-hmm.
might need to tweak the code for, oh, we don't want to just read standard in and exec something in the middle of the program. Security posture changes, so it evolves a little bit, but it does seem like Python, Go, and Rust, if you want to do something more than 5 years old, you're potentially looking at severe problems. Now, something that might not be fair to Python is apparently Python started or was around in Perl's heyday of the 90s. So Python 2, and I presume Python 1 was compatible with it or largely, kind of had a 20-year run. And we've learned some things, we've changed, we need to redo some things. We're going to create Python 3. It's quite similar to Python 2, but it is really a different version. Like IPv4 and IPv6 are really different things. Almost to the point I wish they weren't IP, the same name. But Python 3 is different. There are things to programmatically convert and cover most use cases. I don't begrudge languages evolving, but I do begrudge, okay, Python 3 is out, that's what we're going with, and everything Python 2, we're just dumping. Well, there's this whole 20 years worth of Python 2 that you just threw the baby out with the bathwater. And I think maybe what you're speaking more to, Gary, is why are developers either ignorant of that or worse, okay with throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
Yes. Yeah. I think you've hit it. Yeah.
Let me say something. Python 2 and Python 3 can coexist on the same device at the same time.
I
You
agree,
just
and I
can't have
blame
this- They can't have the same name, but they can exist together. So any programs that you still have from Python 2 will continue to work for many, many years yet. They're not throwing Python 2 away. They're just not updating it.
Python, the language organization, is not throwing it away. You have distributions like Debian throwing Python 2 away.
They're not throwing it away as much as they're just not putting it in their distributions. It's still available.
Yeah, it's been end of life now for more than 5 years, so don't want to be running that on an internet-facing box.
This is Stan. I'd like to point out to anybody new here that this session is being recorded and will be posted up on our archive web pages in a day or two.
Say again, Stan?
This meeting is being recorded. We're going to post it up on our archives if you want to come back and look at it.
Oh, okay.
I think that was a softball of let's be nice and not say something we'll regret. Yes, I absolutely agree. You can have Python 2, Python 3, multiple versions of Perl, multiple versions of Go, pick your program. You can usually have multiple versions installed side by side if you're careful and if you know how to do it and how to deal with it. Distributions make a choice to not do that for various reasons. And I disagree with some things some distros are choosing, but
All right, Graham, what's the next step?
open a beer. Okay, apt get space full upgrade or apt.
Space, the hyphen between like that?
Yes.
And you said apt get.
Apt get and apt cache have been rolled into apt
Okay.
for 99% of the same use cases.
Okay.
And basically, for 40 years, I have been a Unix fan where the minimum number of characters is the best way to approach it. All right, we good to go?
I believe so.
What were the key things you were looking for to be good to go at that point?
What's the 41 that's going to be removed? It said like 200 to be installed, 41 to be removed.
Okay.
Upgraded, new package removed.
No,
Old.
just the old headers.
Old versions of things.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Then.
Views? Oh no.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff automatically installed. We can do an auto remove eventually. Although we've got a bunch of libpython stuff here that I'm not sure we want to remove until we can verify that those are.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's no longer required. Okay, never mind. I didn't see that part.
Is mailman
That would get axed after if you did auto remove.
Right. I don't see a mailman up there.
So it's saying there's nothing depending on it. Then it thinks app doesn't think there's anything depending on those packages. Are there?
correct?
Right. I don't see mailman there.
What is the latest version of Python in the 2 family? For some reason, I thought it was 2.9. Okay, it's removing Python 2.7 and then it's gonna upgrade Python 2.7. I think I saw Python 2.7 above, and it's on the left side of the bottom. Well, was the bottom line.
Well, at least that means it's keeping the Python 2 stuff.
Yep.
You working on 121? All right, continuing our discussion of social media for techies. I think a few of you have seen it, but I wanted to go back. I know a few people have seen this. The whole idea of Discord is to create discussion threads. As an example, here's a major one that I've been in on like 10 years. And there are probably 100 different threads in this particular one, in this particular Discord instance. And the way I have it configured, if there's a new post in any of them, it'll throw out a highlight and you can go in here and read the post. Or you can go up to any other one. There's only one that's been here since I checked this afternoon. And I usually leave space status up there, the one I leave my focus on, and then everything below it will be collapsed. This happens to be a switch on the wall down there. And if somebody walks in and opens the space so other people can head down there, it shows here. Like it opened at noon on the 4th and then closed at midnight on the 4th. And that's the last time that somebody's been there where other people could stop by and work on stuff. So
I don't understand. What do you mean by space status?
Arch Reactor is a building down behind the UPS building at Jefferson and 64. And if a full member goes in and flips the switch, that means it's going to be open for a few hours. And if you're not a full member, you can head down there and do something. Because
It means the physical space is open. Okay.
Right, physical space.
Yeah.
And this is an example of an old and fairly sophisticated system or Discord channel
Structure. Yeah.
structure.
Topic structure.
That this particular thread here, a friend of mine, dang it, how do I get to the top of it? It's been going on for over almost a year. This is an example. This particular lathe was something a friend of mine had. So I posted a picture of it on Arch Reactor, and one of the guys says, "Oh, that's neat. I'll take it." So he paid a few $100 for it. That's what it was. When was this? I don't know. I don't remember the date on here. It was like January 2024, over a year ago. That's what it looked like over a year ago. And he posted his progress of doing everything to it. Actually restored it to better than new. And it's just fascinating. I mean, to watch some of the stuff as he does it. replaced all the bearings, rebuilt everything that he could, stripped it, painted it.
Yeah.
You know,
My dad was tool and die maker for McDonnell Douglas, and he had a lathe just like that in the back room, our house.
what happened to it? Still got it?
No, my brothers took it.
Hey, that was January, here's March. At this point, he's painting it. Picked a nice color of blue. If I remember correctly, it was epoxy paint. Then he started putting it together. Anyway, there it is done. Now let's see. Built a base for it, refurbed the motor, rewired the switch. Looking more complete. Oh, and he started 3D printing parts for it. Printed a little wrench to turn the spindle. And for those of you that know lathes, you know that there are some change gears down here on the motor where you change the speed of the threading rod here. And he actually built 3D printed change gears so that if he blew up one of them, yeah, here they are. He built a set of change gears for it so he could use plastic ones down there. And so if he broke one of them, he could just print another one instead of using the original metal ones that came with them, the lathe. Put a bench together for it.
What kind of infill did he use on that?
I don't know.
Also,
You know, normally you don't want solid because that makes them at a higher risk of thermal deformation. And you know, when you print it, you can specify you want anything from 0 to 100%. So for something like that, I would probably say 75%, something like that would give you plenty of strength to survive. And let's see, had some finished picture. Well, there's a quick change to a post. And I guess that was the last one that was, there we go. That's the finished. All right. Back to our progress here.
The next steps I have are check logs and reboot.
Oh, no, he's still humping.
Somehow the way you said that just reminds me of an episode of MASH that I always liked. It was, he said, yeah, the next step here is to just set the thing and then reboot. And the episode of MASH, they were trying to defuse a bomb which had fallen in the MASH camp, and they're going through the defuse the bomb write up, and the Hawkeye is cutting the wires, and Trapper John is reading him the instructions, and he goes, so now take the snip and cut the red wire. You hear click. Hawkeye goes, okay, next. He turns the page and he goes, but first, make sure it's not connected to.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, those type of directions, you have to be very careful how you write them because people are going to read them literally.
Mm-hmm.
And that could quite literally cost multiple people their lives.
Pretty low percentage there.
6% lower left corner.
7%. All right, any Anybody have any questions on Fediverse, which is Mastodon, Fosstodon, 100, I don't know how, or what, there are thousands of different hosts out there, I'm assuming.
I'd say somewhere in the 3 figures.
Okay. So question for you, how would I find chains, hashtags?
That is one thing that is problematic in the Fediverse, as searching for hashtags tend to be instance specific. And I usually find them by either I type them and then I can see what else is using them, or my client will say use so many times in the last time period. But I'll see somebody who has tagged something I'm interested in, and then I will follow that tag. I very seldom actually go looking for things. And that was true over on Exeter as well. Try just searching for hashtag IPv6, see what you find. So it's profiles that have it in it, and then bottom of your scroll was hashtags. And you could click on those and it'll do a search. Like click on the IPv6 itself.
Is it possible to increase the memory on our virtual machine here?
Yeah, I think it's got 4 gig though. I mean, that's usually enough for anything that isn't GUI.
Well, I'm thinking, wouldn't it run faster if you had more RAM?
No, it's at this point your bandwidth limited. Only got 50 meg going out.
And
Okay.
disk bound as well. And there's also the case of you might not be able to increase memory without shutting down and restarting, which we want to not do at this point.
Because, okay, understood. Because you're not far enough along to be happy.
Right.
We'll show some options here. If we have success, we can always go back on the next reboot. We can always add CPUs or memory. In fact, we only got 4 gig. We can probably bump that up without any kind of major issue. Is everybody familiar with Virtual Machine Manager, which is one of the core utilities in the Linux world? I've been using it for 10 years. When you have a machine, you can open the machine, and then these are the settings part. The main difference is you're actually running it on a minimal host. All the host has is a kernel and basic network services and a hypervisor. This particular hardware is running Zen. KVM is the other major one out there. Plus you have all kinds of different application environments like VirtualBox, and there's all kinds of VMware that you can run on a local host like this.
Would this work with VirtualBox?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
2 different things.
That's what I thought.
I think I'll have to turn my chair around and look, but I think Virtual Machine Manager, newer versions can actually manage VirtualBox. Virtual Machine Manager can also manage LXC, LXD, VMware. Yeah, add connection, click the hypervisor dropdown. Let me check mine. It may be version or what's installed.
Yeah, I don't, gee, I don't even remember what version we've got here.
Mine will do QEMU, KVM, Zen, libvirt, LXC, Beehive, and Virtuoso. I don't have the right things installed, but another system I have, it can actually talk to VMware, start and stop, guests. You don't have as complete control, but it can be a consistent interface.
Yeah, except in that part, in that instance, all you're doing is connecting the UI to the VirtualBox backend.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, arguably, Virtual Machine Manager is connecting to the KVM or libvirt backend. It's
Right.
libvirt under the hood doing stuff.
Yeah, but libvirt under the hood runs on a bare host. VirtualBox requires a full machine with GUI and everything.
All that turns into what is a type 1 versus what is a type 2. And
Yeah.
You can actually run VirtualBox on a darn near bare minimum system, and that is almost exactly the same thing needed for libvirt. It's just headless, and you do across the network GUI management.
Yeah. There are some weird things about VirtualBox. So 20 years ago, I was using it on a server in the back room, and I accidentally deleted a user, and it turns out that user was the owner of all the VirtualBox files, and it killed everything until I figured out the problem.
Yeah.
And since VirtualBox is a user space or user land application, to me that makes it different than KVM or Zen, which actually runs on the base hardware.
Once hardware assisted virtualization became a thing, that differentiation got really, really, really gray. Because even with KVM, the processor and memory is virtualized at the hypervisor layer, but the virtual disks and other virtual hardware is generated by QEMU, which is a user space process. It gets very, very, very nebulous. And for what most people need to do, it probably doesn't matter anymore. It did 15 to 20 years ago. Now, largely, it doesn't.
All right, we got 53%. Somebody else throw out a flyer.
Linux virtual server, IP virtual server admin. Something I've been messing with recently, and I actually posted.
But what was the one you posted about?
LVS / IPVS ADM is the admin utility for it. No, LVS space IPVS ADM. ADM as an administrator. Adam David Michael.
Much more accurate.
Linux Virtual Server is the kernel space component. IPVS ADM is the user space administrative component for it. It is a network load balancer that is an optional component inside the Linux kernel.
Okay.
I am using it in combination with Keep Alive D. I can go into more in a few minutes. I would keep, there's probably going to be multiple prompts.
Well, we're running PHP 7.4 on this thing.
Probably.
That's all going by. Of course, we're not using it for anything really,
Oh,
because the sites are all static. And what Sean's doing in the cloud has their own resources.
Is this going to keep our configurations or our aliases?
Yes.
We hope, right?
It has to ask you if it wants to replace a config file, and as you're careful about answering no or keep the current version, no, it should be okay.
Okay.
Because except for the change we talked about earlier, postfix is, or Python is Python 3, or Python 2 rather.
Right.
That eventually, when we do the dist upgrade, since that satisfies the dependency of Mailman, Mailman won't get removed. And that was the biggest hole that was the big hole we had last time.
Is that end of life or what?
that gets into, is Python 2 dead? No. Is Python 2 supported by contemporary distros? No. Mailman 2 is very long in the tooth. Mailman 3 is a beast, not a direct one-for-one replacement. It still works. It's fine, but the writing is on the wall for it. Much of that writing came about because Python 2 is dead, effectively.
Well, Stan, the biggest difference is Mailman 2 is a file-based history archive.
Right.
Mailman 3 is a database archive. Because I've used Mailman 3 for some applications. Max King is the one we used a couple of years ago.
Right.
And the setup is just totally different. And as far as I haven't done any deep searches, but as far as I've seen, there is no direct way to move your archives from Mailman 2 to Mailman 3.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I consider Mailman 3 to be a collection of, not quite microservices, but it is a collection of various things working in concert with each other. And they're all kind of independent and strung together, whereas Mailman 2, other than writing out the archive, everything was under one monolithic thing.
In fact, the Mailman 3 instances I've looked at are actually Docker, which is the.
You're saying they're actually Docker?
Yeah, they're Docker containers.
Okay.
There's 6 or 7 of them used to run Mailman 3 for the Max King, which was the one I found a couple of years ago and used.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 Docker containers for Mailman 3. When Mailman 2, you could add to a shell account on a box. And you could make it all live in one directory in your home directory.
Okay.
And it just, the fact Mailman 3 is multiple Docker containers speaks to how complex it is.
Wow.
And my opinion is it does not really deliver significantly more features than Mailman 2. I have seen multiple people go, Mailman 3 is way more complicated than what we want for just a simple mailing list. We're going to leave Mailman and go to something else.
What have they chosen instead of Mailman?
I don't know.
I think most places I see just switch to instant messaging. Everybody just gets onto Discord or Telegram or something like that. My biggest problem with Mailman 3, besides it seeming intensely complicated, is the fact that you'll probably find 15 Python interpreters running at once. Good luck running that on a system with like a 1 gigabyte of RAM VPS or something. It'll run, but you won't get much else going on there. Whereas Mailman 2, you can have Mailman 2 plus a bunch of other stuff running, and it'll take up, 300 or 400 megabytes of RAM. Fire up Mailman 3, and you're now using 1.45 maybe gigabytes of RAM. That's crazy.
And you have the disparity in resource consumption, and at a very high level, what additional features is it offering to make it worth it?
Oh, one feature it has that's great is the ability to search messages through a web interface. So if you join a mailing list, you can go back and find a topic that has already been discussed, and you can even add to that. You can reply to a message within the web interface, which I think is a great feature. But I don't know that having 15 Python processes loaded is worth it.
Yeah, and I've seen web interfaces for searching Mailman 2 archive.
All right, one test successful. Oh no, wait a minute. a.slug.org, that's not redirect. Well, that's interesting. Have to figure that out.
Figure what out?
Why is a.slug.org responding when we've
You shut down postfix. Everything else auto starts, correct?
no, hey, we haven't rebooted yet.
No,
No,
but you booted up this clone before we started. The only
No.
thing you shut down was postfix.
I booted the clone before we started. It
Mhm.
had the same IP as the old one.
Right.
So we're verifying that postfix admin works on the upgraded version of Bach.
Right.
And that was the first thing that I wanted to test. Postfix itself is still down.
Right. Mailman would be interesting to check.
Does he run a daemon?
Yeah.
Was it MM?
Mail, I thought.
Yeah, there you go.
be interesting to make sure that that is still there post reboot. You might want to do a system control disable postfix or whatever the syntax is. That way postfix won't start on reboot. But I see postfix services are running.
Why are they running?
Did any of the dpackage config restart it?
I know.
Rerun your stop again?
Could you repeat that question? Did any of the packages?
Part of Debian, when you do installs or updates, may end up running the package configuration piece.
Right.
May have seen that it's supposed to be running on startup and restart the service, not realizing you had purposely shut it down.
Okay.
Okay, so it's now been disabled. Mailman is running. Is that a daemon?
No, I see it as enabled. It's
Now, where it says inactive dead means that it's not running.
well, it's not running, but it's still marked as enabled, so it'll restart when you boot the system.
The vendor preset is enabled, but the the vendor had preset it as enabled, but it is currently disabled.
Okay.
And
I understand.
there's two unit files for Mailman 3, so it would be like Mailman and Mailman-web. So you probably want to check the status on both.
Well, we don't have Mailman 3 on here. It's strictly Mailman.
Oh, right. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
It's okay. Boy, wouldn't it be helpful if an init system was easy to understand?
Ooh,
Shots fired, shots fired.
where do you get these crazy ideas?
I cut my
I mean,
teeth on
none of
flat
the stuff that we're
25
looking at is easy to understand. What's that list of stuff, right? I mean, none of this is easy to understand.
I've been around Linux too long. JFS.io. Kernel has JFS in it?
Well, remember this kernel is Debian 10. We
Okay.
haven't rebooted yet. Okay, so what else do we need to check?
Have you paid Stan to not put you on the election ballot? Have you checked your sanity logs? Have you checked your taxes? The next thing after all those avoid it steps is to reboot.
Good idea. Reading your tail.
Just don't chase it.
Yep.
That looks like something we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, libraries and things have changed. And hey, we're at Debian 11. We don't need to reboot, do we?
But I have run kernels for years without rebooting. Everything else gets updated outside the kernel, but
I've gotten to the point I like boxes to reboot around once a year.
yeah, he's still running the 4.19 kernel, and we're supposed to be like the 5.04 with Debian 11. All right, we're ready to reboot.
Fire in a hole.
What's that, Stan?
Fire in a hole.
Well, fire in the hole. Yep.
Pin's been pulled. Run.
Remove pin. Throw it. Why are you still holding the grenade? You told me to throw the pin.
One that really is in our industry at a major corporation, which maybe I shouldn't name, but they, we're about to reboot a machine, good Unix machine that'd been up for a long, long time, years. And just out of curiosity, before they, typed it in, they thought about the power switch and they were considering, well, should they actually power cycle it?
No.
And that's when they realized they didn't know where it was. They literally just forgot where this machine was in their computer room, and it became a major search effort to figure out which box this was they were talking about. And it turned out it wasn't even in that machine room. It was in the old machine room down the hall, and it was like, oh, okay.
Ouch. Yeah.
Nobody ever makes that complaint about their Microsoft box, you notice?
Well, we had a problem once where the cleaning lady came in and unplugged the server to plug in her vacuum cleaner.
I've heard that.
It actually happened to us.
I've also heard she didn't unplug it, but she plugged her vacuum in, and when she turned the vacuum on, tripped the breaker, which is almost worse. Because at least when she's done vacuuming, she could plug the server back in.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Oh, what are we looking for?
Check and see if postfix is running. Then check mailman, check postfix admin. Mailman looks dead.
Where was my browser window? Well, so far so good.
I think mailman was not running.
Right.
Can you start mailman? It's currently disabled. You enabled postfix.
Well, we need both, don't we?
I wouldn't enable postfix yet because that could allow email to come in. Well, mailman's running. Try pulling up the admin interface.
Where's the list? There are no publicly advertised mailman mailing lists.
Take admin off the end of the URL Mailman's running, so it may be a refinement.
Yeah, but list info should show the list. It used to.
I got logged in. Open a terminal and do a netstat AN or netstat NTP, please. Nancy, Tom, Paul. And okay, things that are hitting 443, 71, 128, 21, 245 is me. So yeah. I'm hitting the web interface. Mailman seems to be happy. Let me go to the overview of all slug mailing lists. I'm going where you had admin, put list info. Take the slash off the end of it. Wouldn't think that. Me. Yeah, I'm getting list info. Announce, discuss, steercom.
Huh.
Are you? Oh, that's weird.
Are you hitting the server you think you're hitting?
That's what I just fixed. Except it's probably not going to refresh.
Shift control refresh. Are you hitting Bach 2 or the new Bach or the?
That's what I was looking at. I took it out of my
Hosts.
host.
It just said Bach 2 in the address bar.
Right, but we're not interested in Bach 2. This is live Bach.
Hang on, let me try on Google.
That's interesting.
It
Yeah.
so screwed up. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I carry on Google Chromium around just for when Firefox can't be used.
Is it serving DNS like it's supposed to? I know NS records point to Buddy DNS, but Buddy DNS does secondary transfers off of Bach, doesn't it?
No, they're coming back to 10.
Okay.
Is that the only SLUUG window I've got open? No. And I still need to use the wiki on 2.11, so I'll put that back.
I feel like we may be at a test it. In theory, I should be able to turn around and see if I can pull email off of it.
There we go.
It's a radical thought.
That
Where do you come up with these ideas?
Way too many years administering servers doing live migrations.
Oh, Alpine.
Yeah, we're here.
Would somebody send me? Oh, you're good. Okay. Somebody send me a test message, gtaylor at SLUUG. Preferably from outside of SLUUG. And it's G, not D. I'm a doofus sometimes, but not in an email address.
I'll send you something from Gmail.
Head your way.
Okay.
and sent to me also.
Hasn't arrived in my mailbox yet.
Yep, there it is. Email working. Cool.
I'm gonna close and reopen my email client so I wouldn't see it yet.
Is enabled. Command is enabled. Oh, master postfix is running. So we haven't left anything unrunning, have we?
I don't believe so. All right. Yeah, it just took a while for it to show up in IMAP, but it is there.
Dare we do the auto remove?
I think we haven't done it yet. I would not.
Did you do assimilate and auto remove?
I would have to check the man page. That's what I was wondering about.
There was a question in chat. What was the name of that tool that runs Python 2 in Python 3?
I'll retype it in the chat. It's actually a package, not a tool. I believe we are further along than we have ever been in this upgrade process. Oh, apparently I sent that as a direct message to Gary, not to everyone. Sorry, Gary.
No problem.
I thought I was replying to Ron and I fail. I'm sorry.
I got you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're at a good stopping point, Gary.
All righty.
We've got things to check going forward, like if it's safe to do the auto remove. And
yeah. I agree.
Alrighty.
All right, should I pass an amber box around to everybody?
Yeah. Woohoo.
Consider it takes a 4x4 to get into the driveway. It might be hard. It might be hard to do.
Take a rain check on it when it's a little safer for everybody to do it.
Yeah, really.
This does seem like tonight would have been one of the things, one of the type of meetings that Yeah, might have been, if we were more cowardly like I am, maybe it is something we should have done in person. Yeah, it's pretty risky just doing a online upgrade like this, but pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool. And I did send
A
an
lot of
email off to both G Taylor and to LVL. Did you guys get my email?
Yes, I did. It just took a few minutes for my iMac client to see it.
Yep, test
Yeah.
3.
we owe a lot of thanks to Mike Knight for a lot of the work that he researched.
Very true. Oh, by the way, Gary,
Yes, sir.
check the email. We have another donation from Steve.
Oh,
Thank you, Steve.
Wow. Call for volunteers.
okay. I haven't, Lee, I haven't got that email, but thank you for pointing it out.
On the screen, Gary.
I'm sorry?
It was on the screen.
It was on the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Sitting here looking at my email. Foolish me.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
All right, not to cut this party short, but I need to drop myself. So
Who is that speaking? I didn't notice.
Grant.
I think,
Oh,
yeah.
Grant. Alrighty. Okay. Well, Grant, thank you very, very much for all the effort and work and thought that's been put into it. Really appreciate it.
Me, Lee, and Mike get lots and lots more kudos than I do. So, and Lee drove. So,
Spur of the moments, the thoughts really are important. So
yeah.
definitely.
And definitely thank you all for kind of thinking how to put this into a presentation that would drag the rest of us kicking and screaming into this transition. So much appreciated, and a good opportunity for us to all learn a few things about what needs to be considered and how it gets done.
Traditional 10-minute warning.
all right. Have a good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Grant. Good night.
Really
Bye.
appreciate
Wow. I'm happy how well this went.
Yeah. Of course, Lee's gonna, get up tomorrow morning, walk into the bat cave, and wonder what that smell of smoke is in the room.
Wow.
What could possibly go wrong?
Do we want to shut it down, or does anybody have anything to talk about?
Let me divide that into two questions. Anything to talk about with respect to the upgrade tonight, the actual presentation, or Lee's earlier presentation on the network cell tool? And then secondary question, any just general Q&A that we didn't get a chance to ask in the middle part of the meeting? We'll entertain questions of any kind.
I move we shoot it down.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, Gary.
All right. This has been the monthly meeting of SLUUG, the St. Louis Linux Unix Users Group. It was our general meeting tonight. This was Wednesday, January the 8th, 2025. Our presentations tonight, the basic tutorial was Lee Lammert presenting on the network cell info tool. It's made by a commercial company. but there is a free version, and we looked at the Android version tonight. There's also an iOS version. And then our main presentation tonight is we did a live upgrade, and we all survived. Grant Taylor and Lee took the box server, which was currently then running Debian 10, which is beyond its shelf life, and upgraded it to Debian 11, and got it all up and running again. So we'll see how this works out. Thank you. Thank you both, and thanks Mike Knight and anyone else who's contributed on the team to making this upgrade happen. And we really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming tonight to the meeting. And with that, I guess we'll call this the end of the meeting.
We'll see you all next Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, good point. Next Thursday. Thursday is the St. Louis Linux user group meeting. Same idea, online, and the topic is, Lee, what was the name of that?
Ongachi.
Ongachi. It's basically a Raspberry Pi which figures out how the handshake works when you get onto a Wi-Fi network, and it can be used for black hat hacking. And so we'll learn next week about the possible dangers and the possible protections and the possible good things you can do with it. So with that, thank you all. Good night.